If we needed something else on our plate, we would have asked. U.S. troops are warned of an imminent attack. Now, every time we have read over the last 5 years of something that is imminent, a lot of the times it hasn't happened, but right now it's kind of up in the air. It says a Houthi rebel leader has warned of retaliatory efforts against American warships if the Yemeni group is targeted by the U.S. as part of a newly launched operation to counter attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. We've covered previously over the last couple of weeks, if you did not join us, companies like Maersk, one of the biggest shipping companies in the world, is not going through the Red Sea. They have suspended it. You have BP Oil not going through the Red Sea, and about 3 or 4 other humongous, gigantic corporations that are not going through the Red Sea. This, of course, affects the supply chain. It affects different resources moving across the planet. So it is a big deal. Not to mention, there have already been a few ships that have been taken. And just yesterday or the day before, we covered that a Somali pirate group actually took a ship, and they believe it was under the direction of the Houthi rebels. Now you have this warning. Mind you, we've been told about all of these now almost 100 attacks on U.S. soldiers. It says the warning comes a day after Houthi rebels based in Yemen attacked 2 commercial shipping vessels south of the Red Sea. A spokesperson for the Houthi rebels said on Monday that they had attacked 2 vessels and had alleged links to Israel. And again, the Israel ship, it was owned by an Israeli company, I believe. It said in response, the U.S. is leading a new international force, Operation Prosperity Guardian, to ensure that the region remains safe for commercial shipping despite the Houthi rebels' attacks. Houthis and Iranian militia groups have launched rockets at Israel since the conflict in the region began following the October 7 event. Reuters reported, and it says the Yemeni group also has increased its attacks on commercial shipping vessels in the Red Sea and has urged ships to avoid traveling to or from Israeli ports. The number of companies have said in recent days that they are halting passage through the Red Sea amid fears, which can add days or weeks to shipping times. A Houthi leader warned that Washington, against escalating the situation in the region, the U.S. will conduct joint patrols in the southern Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden alongside Britain, Bahrain, Canada, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, and Seychelles and Spain. It says that we will not stand idly by if the Americans are tempted to escalate further and commit foolishness by targeting our country or waging war against it. It says any American targeting of our country will be targeted by us, and we will make American battleships, interest, and navigation a target for our missiles, drones, and military operation. And now they're saying that the American fought our people with humanitarian aid, even with food that was provided through the World Food Program, and yet he threatens more after, of course, a gentleman came out and said that we weren't going to take this lying down. It says, whatever the Americans do to our people, we rely on God to confront the Americans. We prefer a direct war with the Americans. Now they're saying that, of course, it will be some sort of response, and it's a perfect setup, literally the perfect setup for some sort of large event for us to get ourselves into another war, if at the very least, some sort of proxy. So we're going to talk about this and much more tonight, and we're actually going to show you all the stories that connect to this. And, of course, we're going to talk about the hacks that just happened. We are going to talk about Turkey's links. We're going to talk about the super weapon, the super weapon that was just tested, and then we're going to talk about the 6 mystery objects that were just put in space. Very well could be anti-satellite weapons from China. We're going to talk about the space plane that actually just released them. We're going to talk about the mock-up of a Chinese stealth drone appears on a mock-up of a aircraft carrier. They are practicing to do a very, very specific event. So you will definitely want to stick around for that. And, of course, we're going to talk about the very ending of this UKR conflict, not to mention North Korea and many other things. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Remember, you can always find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today over on marfooglenews.com. Just click on today's thumbnail. Just look for WMDs in space. Event imminent. China launches mystery objects. Your Xfinity account was hacked. Then it will bring you to this page, and it will show you a full list of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show here. And, of course, there's a whole lot more. So make sure to go check that out after the show is done. Or if you're watching the replay, of course, if we don't cover a full subject, you can go and reread it in retrospect, or you can actually read ahead if we're too slow. Let's bring in my co-slash-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, Merry Christmas week to you guys. We have now 4 days until Christmas Eve. And we are coming up on Christmas really, really fast. I cannot believe it is almost Christmas again. This year has gone by so very quick. It's insane, actually, how fast time goes. We talked about this previously. Over the last few years, I remember when it shifted. At least this. So I know this sounds crazy, but many other people agreed with me. It felt like a few years ago something happened. And it was like all of a sudden time was going faster. Now, everybody says, oh, as you get older, it goes a lot faster. And that's true. Like as you get older, it literally goes faster. Time goes faster. And I think that might be our brains dying. This is my other thought on that our brains are dying and that your memory of things, your memory starts to delete older stuff or even just delete the unuseful stuff. So it seems to you that time is gone, but really it was your brain trying to delete old memories so it can make new ones. Who knows? Your brain does pick and choose what you remember, right? And I think maybe that might be part of it. But at the same point, after learning a bunch of stuff about time and what scientists say time is and how it works, the weird facts like the closer you are to Earth, the faster time goes or the slower time goes. I think it was faster. No, I think it was faster the farther it gets away. The atomic clock that actually does all of that, essentially that the gravity affects time and things like this. It's so funky, right? But at the same point, it felt like over the last couple of years, time started just flying. And everybody said it's not just like, oh, when you're having fun or when you're getting old. It felt like it was actually speeding up. Even they said that kids and teenagers experienced the same thing, that it was going faster. What do you guys think? Let me know on the side point of this entire show. Leave a comment. What do you think? Have you noticed time going faster the last few years? A serious question. I would love for you to comment down below. And then make sure to also go check out marfooglenews.com/friends. We have all of our wonderful mods. If you want to drop an M in the chat or say hello to your favorite mod, make sure to do so right now. If you don't come in very often, just come in and say hi. And, of course, let them know they are cared about. All right. And then Wages World is covering all the solar stuff, and Trinity has been often this week. I know that she's working on all sorts of great stuff, so make sure to check her channel. Ilea always makes great, funny videos. Of course, RJL, Rip, Lisa R. Hall, Jammer, Gem, CG Blaze, Chance Paladin, and Bones. They are Foogle fam celebrities. They are awesome people. They are really, really kind people, so make sure to go support them. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about Turkey links Sweden's NATO bid to U.S. approving F-16 jet sales and Canada lifting arms embargo?
Yeah, so hot on the heels of Erdogan coming back from a trip to Hungary, Turkey, which Erdogan is the president of, and the other country, Hungary, are the only two members that have not approved Sweden's bid, and that's why it's so critical. And I'm sure Hungary will just join with Turkey when they do it. But basically, what Erdogan said is like, look, I've been asking for these F-16s. They've been promised to me. So if that deal can get through and get the U.S. approval so that I can buy those F-16s, then that, as well as he wants Canada and other NATO allies to lift the arms embargoes that they have imposed on Turkey. He also, I think he made a comment, and I don't know the history on that particular part, but he made a comment that, like, if they keep their promises, in other words, that they would accelerate that. Then specifically talking about Canada on that one, removing that embargo. If they will do what they're supposed to do, and then he will approve them. So this is exactly what we said, because Erdogan plays all sides, and he's always doing what's in his own best interest. And we said it from the get go that this was going to be a a bargaining chip for him. Like, what can he get out of it? And all the other members were like, yes, we'll bring him in, but Erdogan is going to be the one that holds out because he's going to see what he can get from anybody, the U.S. and others. And this is what he wants. He wants his F-16s, and he wants to be able to trade military items from to and from Canada and other NATO allies.
Very, very. Turkey's constantly just been a thorn in the news cycle as far as all the stuff that we cover. It's usually them slowing down something, delaying something, going against the grain. But who knows what's really going on? A lot of the comments, by the way, everybody is commenting that time is going swiftly by. I think I saw one person that said it seems like it slowed down for me. But everybody else has said that it is going faster. That's just really strange. Dex, have we talked about that as far as like time speeding up?
I don't know about you, but I think my time is going really fast. It just seems like, probably because I'm old now. But yeah, the years are going. Somebody in the comments, and I wish I remember whose name it was, they said days go slow and years go fast. And I would agree with that, because sometimes the days do feel long. And but the year has flown by.
Yeah, it seems like each day is just like this huge grind, but then they all start blending together, and then, I mean, it's already Christmas again. I just find this absolutely nuts. Gosh, it's just so crazy. I can think of like landmark time periods, something big that happened around that point, and it's just absolutely crazy. It's already been a year. And then thank you, Ilea. Thank you for being here. Naughty Kitten. It would also be nice if we had a leader, Mary, that put us first. If to be fair, I don't think any of the leaders truly put everybody first. I mean, if there's something that would profit them or put them first, I bet they would do it first. We're never actually being put first. At least we haven't with the government forever. I as long as I've been alive. But yeah. And let's see here. We have Kim Jong-un says, when Washington makes a wrong decision, ICBM launch proves best option. Huh. So it says Kim Jong-un told North Korean newspapers this week that the country's recent successful missile launch proves he has options against aggression from Washington. It says that Kim, the supreme leader of North Korea, celebrated the country's overwhelming strength following the launch, according to the state outlets, noting that it was an occasion to clearly show that action the DPRK has been prepared and what option the DPRK would take when Washington makes the wrong decision against it. Kim appreciated that the drill once again has strikingly displayed the DPRK's will for toughest counteraction and its overwhelming strength. An article in Korea Central News read. It said that DPRK stands for Democratic People's Republic of Korea, of course, the country's official name. And then Central Military Commission of the Workers' Party of Korea described the launch as a, quote, powerful warning measure under the grave situation in which the hostile forces anti-DPRK military threat that has persisted for the whole of this year is getting ever more disguised and dangerous even at this moment of year-end December. If they, I think they had Google translate that. As far as the launch, they're basically saying that America and the allies and everybody is they're really up to something. That's basic translation of this. And what's kind of crazy is they are kind of right. I mean, the U.S. and South Korea have been drilling for the event of a surprise attack from North Korea. Now, that surprise attack, they directly related it to, oh, well, we think this may happen, exactly like what happened to Israel, where it's like an October 7th thing, where it happens out of nowhere. They start launching artillery shells, and they're drilling to take down all of their artillery on the other side of the border. They're doing these very specific drills that totally go off the path of the drills they have been doing. They've been doing the cut the head off the snake drill every year, but they've now said and mentioned and purposely put out articles saying, oh, yeah, you know, what we think is they may actually pull a Hamas and do an October 7 event. So something may be being set up here. If you believe in Fantastic Freddy's and that they happen, then you may want to pay attention, because I think Kim Jong-un will be the finger on the trigger that pulls the world war. There's a few fingers out there for Fantastic Freddy. Fantastic Freddy has fingers, I guess. But all like Finland, Japan, like there's many countries that could start this thing. Kim is one of them, and I think he is a puppet. I think he may be a puppet for either China, Russia, or he could be even a puppet for the three-letter agencies here. Who knows? Or the Mossad types. Who knows? But what's scary is that his country is essentially disposable as far as they're concerned. Like that family, as long as they have a place, I bet they would just throw their country away if they needed to. But who knows? I don't think they ever want to give up power. Oddly enough, look at what they put at the end of their missile. Black and white checkered design there. That's why would they do that? Maybe it's because they're playing 4D chess. I don't know. And then it says the projectile, which has the capability of traveling more than 9,300 miles and reaching the mainland U.S., flew 73 minutes before landing in an area west of the Japanese island of Hokkaido. Reuters reported, citing Japan's defense ministry and parliamentary vice minister of defense Shingo Miyake. So they did launch a missile. They say, I remember when we were covering stuff where they doubted that they even had real nukes. They said all of their tests were fails, and that they would never. I remember a scientist writing an op-ed saying Kim Jong-un will never be able to, with their primitive sciences, will never, ever be able to make a missile that reaches the U.S. Fast forward to today, if this is true, then I guess that guy is eating his foot. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we move on, I do want to remind you, there is a way to protect ourselves from some of these crazy adversaries and some of their crazier ways of attacking us. Thus, an EMP shield is a really great protection, not only against an EMP by man-made forces, but also from a CME or a Carrington-level event from the sun. This is easily wired into your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, house, ham radio, and of course, it can actually protect and ground the signal of an EMP or a CME in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. Any of these kinds of events happen, you will be able to drive out to bug out, or you'll be able to drive home to get home. Especially if you work far from home, this is something you would definitely want to get on your vehicle. If you have an older vehicle, you might not have to worry. Make sure to look at if your vehicle actually needs it. But most do. So make sure to go check it out at marfooglenews.com/EMP. It's the same company that's now outfitting DHS and, of course, DOD and military installations and all sorts of different places, including the DEMSO team in Texas, helping protect the Texas grid. So they are protecting themselves. Nobody is going to protect you. You're going to have to do it yourself. If you do want to do that, then of course go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. They have a device for pretty much everything. If you want to protect it, then you'd definitely be smart to get one of these on it. It's like a EMP and CME insurance policy for your devices. And then thank you for your support. It helps support our independent channel. And of course, you get a big discount. Dex, do you want to go over the U.S. has a game plan for the Ukraine war, which rests on Kiev holding out until 25?
Yeah, so this is kind of crazy, but so this is a report that came out. It was published in the NY Times, but basically it's talking about a hold and build strategy. So given the fact that the money is sort of run out and the funding's not really there, I think they're talking about one more last little tranche of funding that they've got that they're going to put out at the end of this year. And that's it, unless for some strange reason Congress can come back together and produce funding, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen because there's just no support for it. The new plan is to wait and see. Can we just get them to hold out till 2020, to the end of 2024?
Sit tight and assess.
Yeah, or hang out until 2025. Now, in my mind, I was thinking those dates are kind of interesting because they sort of align with when do we think something could kick off and shift from one place to another, and that typically wrap up something in 2024, wrap up something in 2025 because you're going to kick it off in another part of the world. That's one thought I had, but nonetheless, the point is, can they just make them string it along for as long as possible? More sort of a wait and see strategy, but I don't think that is really going to work because the person who's already doing that is Putin. He's been doing the hold and wait. He's been waiting and pushing and just holding out till they run out of money, and that's exactly what's happening. And now they're not going to be able to have any strength, it seems, especially without the funding of the U.S. and the rest of the NATO allies.
Yeah, and Patrick Bellamar brings up the Deagle Report 2025. There's a lot of events that line up with 2024, 2025. The solar cycle hits its peak maximum. So we have like all of these kind of catastrophic scenarios that line up for 2024, 2025. If you're watching the replay, you can read the chat yourself. Okay. I'm not gonna play this game. But I will say, I'm happy because Joe Biden says they're only going to send one more package of money. We know that's a lie. That's okay. You guys know. And we have Putin military fires super weapon as AS-24 Killjoy ballistic missile at Ukraine airfield, says UK defense chiefs. Vladimir Putin's military has fired up his, quote, super weapon, AS-24 Killjoy ballistic missile at an airfield in central Ukraine. They believe it's the first use of this missile system for 6 months. Now, they say the first use in 6 months. I think I remember the last time that they said that this was used. It says that it's in the latest intelligence update. The military defense in London said on December 14, 2023, the Russian Air Force highly likely carried out the first use of an AS-24 Killjoy air-launched ballistic missile since August 2023. Russia launched at least one missile into central Ukraine, likely targeting a military airfield. They briefly added one of 6 super weapons. President Putin announced in 2018, Killjoy has been earmarked to play a major role in Russia's future military doctrine. I want to point out, too, this one says one of 6 super weapons. That's 6 super weapons, by the way. We covered that includes the nuclear tsunami weapon, I forget the other word for it, the tsunami nuke, the nuke tsunami. It sounds like a band or something, but the nuclear tsunami. I feel like there's another. Dex, why am I saying it wrong? Is it called the tsunami nuke? There was another word for that. Either way,
Is it the Poseidon?
Well, the Poseidon's the delivery system, right? Isn't that
Okay.
that's the submarine. Either way, I feel like there was a different word for it. Anyways, they had the tsunami nuke. They had the torpedo that could navigate, the nuclear powered torpedo that could navigate across the sea and turn and do all the sorts of stuff. They had the hypersonic glide vehicle thing that could basically fly over very, very, very low. And it was also powered by some crazy thing that could go forever and go across the world and basically fly indefinitely. I forget what the other three are, though. There's a bunch of them. And they say that all of these, different super weapons are why, we should be careful. Obviously, people are going to be scared by this, but I'm not as much scared of this. I think they're way less likely to use any of these super weapons than they are to hack, say, our grid or take down our grid. I think that there are humans on the other side. I think that if you knock down a country's grid, then you're not actually taking any lives on your own. Nobody actually dies from an EMP. Nobody actually dies from a hack. People die once the water goes out. It's basically a way like, survival of the fittest type of thing. But it also knocks down everything. But as far as them testing this stuff, it says Killjoy has almost certainly had mixed combat debut. Many of its launches have likely missed their intended targets, or at least that's what they say. While Ukraine has also succeeded in intercepting attacks by this supposedly undefeatable system. One of the sides is probably lying here. And unfortunately, if you're American, you're supposed to be like, I'm totally pro-Ukraine. Why? I don't know, because they're not our ally. They're not even a constitutional republic. They're definitely not a democracy. I don't know why we're supposed to support this country that none of us have any connections with. It's not part of NATO. But anyways, you're supposed to support that and obviously go against Russia, because for decades and decades, Russia's horrible and we're awesome. But at the same time, we know that UKR is super, super corrupt. And a lot of our tax dollars are going towards them and then getting siphoned out so, some general over there can buy a supercar and a mansion. It's a bunch of So what do you guys think about the Killjoy and being used in Ukraine? Do you think it actually worked, or do you think that they were able to intercept it? Russian submarine Caliber missile carrier enters the Black Sea, warns UA Defense Forces. Dex, we actually talked about, so now we've got several crazy weapons in today's show. This whole show is themed around crazy weapons and delivery systems.
And just think, like, there's no crazy weapons going into UKR. There's no money. There's no new equipment going in. There's no let's put in some more, Patriots, or let's put in some more, let's get them a fresh batch of F-16s. None of that's happening because there's no money. Yet we've got, the super weapons being launched. We've got now more nuclear powered subs, or potentially nuclear armed subs, but I'm pretty sure these are probably going to be doing more cruise missiles than that, going into the Red Sea. So they're amping up now. They have had a hard time in the past in that area because of the drones. That was the one thing that that UKR actually did a decent job of with those water unmanned vehicles. Was taking out and hurting the Russian Navy enough that it would cause them to at least move, retreat, pull back, and do certain things. So, given that they don't really have their own Navy of any substance or size, having those small drones were very helpful. But I think subs are a little bit easier to hide than some of the bigger ships that were floating around there. So that may be another sign that Russia is just amping up and putting the pressure on, while UKR is going to be buckling down.
Well, did anybody actually think that Ukraine could have won this without they don't have a real Navy. They don't have a real Air Force. They don't have anything. How did anybody even think that this was, like, you can put as much money and stuff into this as you want, but you really need to put an army in a different country in there to win against Russia. So what was the real purpose of this? Just to filter out money to your buddies? Like, I think they're going to look back in a long time and we're going to find out all sorts of nefarious things. I bet it will be 60 years from now, our grandkids, CIA will release things to our grandkids. They'll be in their, bubble pods with their ventilators on, in their matrix pods or something going, oh, this was a total sham. But we'll see. By the way, thank you, Dr. Casey. Says Merry Christmas. Adam and Dex, thank you for the support and thank you for supporting Independent. I appreciate you. Dr. Casey, nice to see you. And thank you for supporting us. And then Robert A. says, Kamala nonsense. Help is on the way. And then Stephen McMahon says, has anybody touched with the older blind lady from Tennessee who called in once? I believe you're talking about Heartbroken Survivor. I don't think there was another person who is blind. She's not from Tennessee, but yeah, she's in the show every night, but she's just over on D Live. In fact, she may be here tonight. Is she here tonight? And yes, everybody loves Heartbroken Survivor. Heartbroken, I don't know if you're here, but if you want to say hi or pop over to YouTube and let people know you're okay. Yes, and she's a very tough cookie. She was
in there.
Yeah, she takes care of herself. She's in her 70s and she's on her own. She's blind and lives on her own, and she does totally fine. Not somebody you would mess with. She is a tough cookie, and she's a very sweet lady. Heartbroken Survivor. Blessings to you and Merry Christmas to you. I hope you're not going to be. I hope you're going to spend time with somebody tonight or over Christmas. Do you have plans for Christmas? I wish I was in Florida. I would say come say hi to you. And then go ahead.
She said her last comment a few moments ago was, "Thank you all. Going to lay down. Worst sunburn ever. LOL. Good night, darlings."
Oh no.
She's funny.
She is funny. All right. And then anti-war candidate Duntsova applies to run against Putin for Russian president. I don't even know why Western media even covers this stuff. It's, if she did get put in, she would be put in by Putin. Maybe this would be, I don't know what this is. It's not like, we already know Putin's like replaced the whole government there to a government that will essentially let him run essentially for the rest of his life. If he did step down, he would step down in a way that he would still keep control. He would step down in a way where he would be able to still pull the strings. And who knows? The way, how involved Medvedev is or what, we don't know. When Vladimir Putin used to be KGB, what if to this day, Vladimir Putin is actually playing a role for another oligarch above him? Like Putin is still just being a secret agent and playing the part of a president. Isn't that a weird thought? Like everybody thinks he's the big bad evil shirtless guy on a horse, but maybe he's, I mean, we know they're all puppets to somebody, but what if they put him in and the people in charge, they could just put somebody else in? Who knows? Former TV journalist Yekaterina Duntsova put her name forward on Wednesday to stand in a Russian presidential election in March that Vladimir Putin is expected to win by a landslide. It's a joke. Like, I don't even know why they cover this over here because it's not going to happen. Duntsova, and it's just because she's in the news, right? Because she is a journalist and she was on TV. That's the only reason it's covered. Otherwise, in my personal opinion, she has no chance unless some rich oligarch is purposely saying, Vlad, you're out, this lady's in. And they're changing the narrative or something. Watch this, though. Wouldn't it be crazy if, because Russia's beyond any, we can't, they can't bring Russia back into the fold. If this was all some big op to filter money out, if they were to bring Russia back in the fold, what are they going to do? Just drop all the sanctions, be like, Russia, it's all good. You can bank with us. Everything's all good. There could be a situation in the future where they're like, oh, it's a new leader, regime change. She's anti-war and she's great and she's running the country and now it's up to par with everybody else. Dex, go ahead.
Nobody And I mean, nobody has been willing to file the papers to run against him. He's been running unopposed. So the reason she's in the news is she's the only one to actually fill out the papers and come out publicly and say she's willing to take the risk to run. She didn't say take the risk. She mentioned, you know, any sane person taking this step would be afraid as part of her quote. But yeah, she's going to be, if there's a big following and she's very much against the tide, so to speak, that's there, then she'll probably go the way of Navalny and others. And it's not it's a super risky move on her part if she's truly independent. And this is not part of a big orchestration.
I think I found, in fact, I think we already have an instant update. Yeah, we have a picture of a live picture. It's freeze frame, so it's going to take a few minutes for the rest to update. I don't know if the picture was taken upside down. What that is weird, huh? But we'll check back later, and we will update you on her situation. Looks like it's just the camera's upside down. No, the city's facing upright. That means she's. Oh. We might not update for family-friendly reasons. But yeah, good luck on your run. Yeah, Katerina. If you haven't already, make sure to go check out Energy, marfooglenews.com/energy. It is really one of the best solar generators on the market. Dex and I both personally use the Flex 1500. Again, the tactical I have actually used as well. I would think out of the two, most people are going to go for the Flex 1500. It has all the same features. It just doesn't have the heated batteries. I think that most people will get away with the Flex just fine. Again, the reason why everybody's chattering about the Flex Tactical is because obviously it is got a few updates like the steel reinforced frame, the 1,500-pound latches, the heated batteries, and of course ground built in, all sorts of cool stuff. But it is also the same generator that is going to be shipping out to the Army. This won the SBIR Phase 2 contract, and it was designed in part with the Air Force Research Laboratory. So that is the quality of this product. The Army is actually going to be using these. This one could fall off a truck. But here's the thing. The original, before the tactical existed, that's what I said about this one. They really are very, very tough. I would think that if they put that latch system on this one, I think this would be the absolute perfect unit. The regular system that comes on it is great. But yeah, the tactical, definitely that is one of the coolest parts about it is they're very fast. It's a very fast and efficient way to unclick. You can expand like Lego and you can mod it. You can actually change and alter it. You can add in UPS, you can add in superchargers, you can add in all sorts of stuff. And it gets it powered from from either your wall or your car. You can actually charge it from your car, or you can charge it from the sun. You get yourself some folding panels with handles on them. You could walk out the door and bring your generation with you. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. It is a very incredible system, and it is going to be something that is going to be very hard to get. It's silent, and it can be run inside. So nobody's going to know you have power, and you don't have to deal with a gas station during SHTF. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. And this is absolutely nuts. So we don't know what's true and what's false, right? But there is some really, really funky stuff going on above our heads. They are, of course, saying that there's a war going on above in space. In fact, our Space Force general, the equivalent of a 4-star general, said that there is a war above our heads at this time. I mean, this was like 2 years ago. Said that there is a war in space going on right now. So that was 2 years ago. I can only imagine what is going on right now. Dex, what did it just launch? Basically, it just released 6 mystery objects.
Okay, so if you guys recall, we have this space plane called this military space plane called the X-37B.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a while back about the launch that China did of their version that looks almost identical to our X-37B, and it is their version of a space plane. If for those of you that remember the old space shuttle, imagine something that looks like that, just smaller and not designed to hold humans. It's just designed to hold cargo and experiments and do other things. They're not manned crafts, but they go up and they stay in orbit for a long time, measured in hundreds and hundreds of days, sometimes multiple over a year, and then they land back down and they glide back down to the ground. So this was their version. It launched. We covered the launch not too long ago, but what's most interesting is that it's now launched numerous objects. It's put out 6 unidentified objects. They have designated, or the department, or yeah, I guess in the Space Force has designated them objects A, B, C, D, E, and F. Very, incredible naming they've done there. Of course, the Department of Defense, NORAD, has their own numbering system, so they've got numbers for these objects that they're now tracking. What they're seeing is some different use of radio behaviors between these objects that they didn't see on prior launches. They've seen this space plane go up before, and they've seen it do some of its space tests and things like that, and even put objects out, which is what it can do. It can launch a satellite or launch other objects. But this time it's acting a little different, and that's what they're trying to track and understand exactly what's going on here. All the speculation, of course, the speculation is going to be, from people like Space News is going to suggest it's just modules for inspections and satellite tracking and other stuff. But we don't really know. This is top secret military, just like our X-37B. We don't know what goes on there. It's not the same as when we subcontract out to SpaceX to launch something. We may know there's a satellite on there, but it may be a top secret satellite. We don't know a thing about what goes on these planes, just like we don't really know a thing about what's going on with China's version. And that's the scary part. And Space Force is pretty much busy right now doing a whole lot of monitoring and checking and detecting, because this is introducing something that could be very detrimental up above. And that's what they want to know, what exactly is going on.
And it reminds me of this previous story where Chinese scientists build an anti-satellite weapon that can cause explosion inside exhaust. Okay, so this is one of many. They've actually made a laser machine. They've made a clamping arm, just like Russia did. Russia and China have both been working on these anti-satellite weapons. It makes me think of Leave the World Behind. It actually makes me think of Awake. It makes me think of How It Ends. In all of these, mind you, Netflix almost every 2 years has come out with a very specific sort of end of the world movie, where the satellites go down as well, where it's not just the internet and the power and all of that. They go to their GPS and the GPS is down. Well, that's a big challenge to take out satellites in space. That's why in all of these movies and in any fan fiction, they say, whoa, what do you mean? They also took down the satellites? That is exactly what they are doing. And there are a ton of satellites in the sky, but there are a fewer number of military satellites that really, really are really important. Also, if you take out a few, what they say will happen, if any of it is all true, like if it all exists, then they can start a domino effect. If they knock out a few, then that debris spins around and causes this huge situation. Or at least that's what they would tell us after it happened, and why we don't have GPS, and we wouldn't know anyways, because our power would be off and everything else would be, communications would be severed. They just launched 6 mysterious objects. What I think of, too, is when they launched a hypersonic object that also then launched a secondary hypersonic object. Now, these 6 objects are not hypersonic, so they're supposedly floating out there. They just released these 6 things. What the hell are they? I don't have much faith that there's something non-nefarious up there, and they're just releasing, rainbows and pony, up there. I'm sure that it's something bad. What do you guys think they are? Either way, I would think that we need to have our wits about us, and if something does start going down, everything is starting to really, really look like, if this was a bad B movie, would be like, oh, they're going to run up the stairs instead of out the open front door. All of the folks crossing our border, the military-age men, all of the connections with some of our more suspicious politicians going and directly meeting with Xi Jinping, people possibly getting greased in their pockets, weird meetings, China setting up spy agencies in all of the NATO countries, spy police agencies, them setting up businesses strategically right by our military bases, them launching balloons over us, them hacking into our critical infrastructure. That's a big one. And of course, their back-end chips that are in almost everything, including 60% of all of our cranes at all of our ports. It's insanity. And the stuff that they're doing with biologicals, our responses to all of this, which they're not saying is 100% China, they're just happen to be essentially coming up with different things to defend against things that they're doing. Kind of seems like something is going on. What do you guys think? Do you think they just released some confetti up there? It's actually just 6 confetti pieces of paper. Who knows? Maybe it's 6 mirrors with the villains from Superman. I don't know. But I'm starting to wonder if something is going to happen sooner than later. And China quietly rebuilds secretive base for nuclear tests. So it seems like there's a pattern in this last week. Everything is being dusted off. This is the area that they show here. And it says in a remote desert where China detonated its first atom bomb nearly 60 years ago, a drilling rig recently bored a deep vertical shaft that is estimated to plunge down at least 1/3 of a mile. It is the strongest evidence yet that Beijing is weighing whether to test a new generation of nuclear arms that could increase the lethality of its rapidly expanding missile force. Now, they had at least 300. Some say that they have close to 1,000 nukes. A couple nukes is a big deal. But what they have, like Russia and China have enough, or Russia and the U.S., they have overkill. They could wipe the planet out multiple times over. So they don't need 5,000 nukes to wipe out the planet. So is China at the point where... what point, Dex, is there, I wonder if this information's out there. What point does China have to get to for mutually assured destruction? Like, we have mutually assured destruction with Russia. Is that what China's going for? Are they trying to build up enough of a force where if they wanted to, they could take out the whole planet? Is that, you know what I mean?
I think it's been stated in the past about 400 high yield nukes is what what it would take targeting Soviets. So I'm guessing if they've got anywhere in the neighborhood of 200, 300, or 400 modern day nukes, then they're probably in that scenario. But I think no matter what, the thing is they've got the alliance with Russia, so I think it's already understood. Like if we were to launch on them, they would launch on us. If they launch on us, Russia will probably launch on us at the same time, and just I don't see a scenario where it's not both of them acting against us.
There was a quote. Oh man. Diaries of there was a quote. Nuclear planner. The Doomsday Machine, Confessions of Daniel Ellsberg. Let's see here. Let's see if I can. Daniel Ellsberg quote. There was a Daniel Ellsberg quote that I was trying to pull up. And it said that there was no situation. This is crazy because this guy's job during, he's got a crazy history. Some consider him a traitor. Some consider him a hero. He had stuff to do with Vietnam, I believe, and I'm just paraphrasing of what's in the back rumbling in my head. But there is a quote that I'll paraphrase. Said he would go into an office and people would just be chatting and having fun, and he described it very weird. He goes, it's so weird that you go into an office, everybody's having fun, whatever else, but their whole job was to plan on destroying all life in Russia and in China. And one thing he said is that there was no plan. There is no plan. And I believe he says it's more current too. This goes for today. There was no plan. So if in mutually assured destruction, which he helped plan back then, there was no plan where Russia launches all their missiles. Say China's not doing anything. There was no plan that did not consist of not knocking out every single city in Russia and every single city in China. So even if China did not launch back then or did not have nukes, there was no scenario where they would leave China sitting there pretty while they destroyed Russia. And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about when you think about their no limits partnership and where they are right now. Now I don't know if this might not have anything good, but now I'm not saying I don't look up to this guy or anything. I haven't. I've only read I think 3 chapters of his book, but it is a very freaky thing as far as what he says in this, and it gives you a perspective of, this whole other world. There are people right now planning on how to take every man, woman, and child's life in other countries as a contingency. Imagine the sadness of that job. Like you would have to simulate taking everyone's life. That's really scary. But now they're rebuilding this. They are doing these huge, dust-off projects where they're reopening everything. And people still don't believe that a war is coming. I think that as a community, we need to stop worrying about what other people think and just really get down and start prepping. I guess stop worrying if other people believe us or not. Just really put out the message of, hey, we're prepping, you should do the same. And not worry so much about if people believe it or not, because it's not going to change our situation when it happens. By the way, Tau Wesley, 67, I haven't seen you in a long time. Thank you, Tau Wesley. I appreciate that. Nelly 14, Scooby-Doo Right, Poco Loco, Beer Juice, thank you for gifting out badges over on DLive. Priscilla R, thank you. Kimbria, Fractured Fusion, thank you. And Beer Juice, thank you for the diamond over on DLive. Thank you. And Scooby-Doo Right, thank you for the all of the support, and thank you for making it to almost every show. I appreciate that. And over on YouTube, again, thank you, Dr. Casey. I appreciate that. Adrian Maldonado, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate that. And see other chat, please. Love you guys. Much love, fam. A Vincent Design. I don't know where to see the other chat, unfortunately. I'll have to look after the show. And then a mock-up of Chinese stealth drone appears on a full-size aircraft carrier test rig. So takes a second if you're looking this on a small phone, what you'll notice is that this is a mock-up on ground of an aircraft carrier. And it actually has a stealth drone chilling there. A very familiar one, too, because all of their drones are basically carbon copies of our blueprints that they stole from us. Dex, it's kind of freaky to see them basically practicing on these. And I don't know if this one is... they've actually practiced. They have made full-size, life-size replicas, or at least the size and length and width of all of our aircraft carriers and all of our ships in the desert. And they use that for target practice. If that's not telling enough, then I don't know what to say. But what is the deal with the stealth drone?
Well, they're assuming that this is a GJ-11, which is an unmanned combat aerial vehicle. And now what they're saying is that this is suggesting, which it was assumed it would be part of an air carrier group. They weren't sure how it was going to be used yet, but it was something that was under development that they've been testing. And now by seeing it on this, it basically confirms the fact that they are going to expect to see these drones as part of their aircraft carriers or part of their aircraft their carrier capabilities. So these are small. They are combat. They are aerial vehicles. They're unmanned, obviously, since they're drones. So imagine, they can probably fill a carrier up with a lot more of these than some of the bigger jets that are manned. So I think that's one of the other considerations to take when you think about this. So some interesting things. There's a few other pictures, and maybe another picture of the actual drone further down that you can see. It's been showcased a couple times in parades. It's been caught before on a runway where they've taken a picture of it, um, and you can see what it looks like. Again, it's very stealthy looking. And they also have other concept pictures or other concept drones that they're building. They've invested heavily in drone technology, especially on these stealth looking planes, which you say they stole from us, but some of them were actually given to them. I think maybe you would still consider it stolen, but yeah, we haven't done a good job at keeping our secrets secret.
Yeah, like our people, traders from our country, straight up giving them the designs. Um, it would seem to us that our government, our military, should be focused on being able to disconnect the. Oh wow, Dex, this makes sense. I just thought of this, and I'm not a genius or anything. When they program these with AI and they're on their own and they're autonomous, they don't have to worry. There's no way to stop it then. Because if these are drones piloted by a person in China or in some boat and they've got some Xbox controller and they're piloting it, then all you would have to do to take the rug from out under this is either take out the guy or cut the communications. If you EMP'd or did some sort of jammer to jam the signal, this thing would go down in the water. But if these things are all AI and autonomous and are basically trained to decipher, like that's an American, that's this, that's that, they go on their own. There's no way to stop it. And there's no human life in there. So it's essentially a extremely dangerous, suicide drone.
You're spot on in that sense that AI and could present that opportunity. I think it would these at the cost of these, it's going to be more like give it a mission, let it go performance mission and come back. They don't want them to necessarily just be one-time use. They're pretty expensive compared to the other drones that are meant for one-time use and because they can reproduce them at low costs. But yeah, these stealthy things, launch them up 20, 30, 40, put them on a mission. Even if there's not a human controlling it and AI is controlling it, then it can conclude its mission and come home.
I wonder if in all of the pictures, they have these white flaps. Oh, maybe those are just the landing gear flaps. But they're weird. They almost look like missiles stacked or something. Oh,
those are the doors.
Even I know, but even the flaps are aerodynamic. They have these ridges, these like almost like picket fence things, right? I wonder if that's for the aerodynamics. This thing looks like a dolphin.
Probably more for the stealth quality.
We've got Flipper here. I'm going to call those things Flipper. And then Xfinity hack affects nearly 36 million customers. Here's what to know. A security breach at Comcast-owned Xfinity has exposed the personal data of nearly all the internet provider's customers, which includes me and 35 other million people. This is insanity. There are so many big hacks going on right now, and it's back page. Comcast said in a filing with Maine's Attorney General's office that the hack affects 35.8 million people, with the media and the technology giant notifying customers of the attack through its website and by email. The company said Monday that the intrusion stems from a vulnerability in software from cloud computing company Citrix, which Xfinity and many other companies use, according to Comcast. Although Citrix patched the vulnerability in October, Xfinity learned that unauthorized users gained access to internal systems sometime between October 16th and October 19th, revealing customer data. For some people, that included their names, contact information, account usernames, passwords, birth dates, parts of their social security numbers, and answers to their security questions. This is something where if you are with Xfinity, you need to immediately change your password. If you have the same password, and this is really dumb if you do, as your bank password or your very important info, then you need to change that. Dex suggests having a password generator or a password key, either an app or a physical. A lot of people get the hardwired. Some of them can even be, what are they, USB drive things?
Yeah, that's a security key, but the easiest thing is a password manager. And if you've already got Nord, they got one, you can get that. If not that, there's about 2 others out there, 1Password and something else that are pretty popular. LastPass, I think. Nord's got one. They all have, there's a few of them that are out there. Just get a password manager. Make a password for everything individually. Don't use the same password in multiple places. That way, when one password gets hacked, it can't be used anywhere else.
And it will make a very hard and complicated one that, again, you're not going to be able to remember without one. But those are the safest passwords. At this point, I don't know if there's anything, even if you do protect yourself, the whole country is at risk right now. Citrix, this cloud company, like many others, I bet you Citrix probably had some sort of vulnerability for a very long time. I believe SolarWinds, since it affected companies like Citrix and all of our military branches, and you have it affecting, all of the big companies, all of the Fortune 500 companies, they could have had backdoors into these companies, for 2 years, and now they're utilizing it. They could have gotten into Xfinity hardware. They could have used this vulnerability to then get into other things and then leave further backdoors for later. They patched the vulnerability, but who knows what other backdoors are open right now. And it seems like every day we have covered a huge, huge hacking event. Now, I mean, I've for 5 years that I've been covering this stuff, a hacking event like this used to be like, 3 or 4 times a year. Now it's been every day. This is why preppers prep. And speaking of prep, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/prep. This is a really affordable way to get a ton of freeze-dried food in bulk. Why you would want to go with freeze-dried is because freeze-dried not only preserves the food for upwards of 25 plus years, this will be good until 2052 into 2053, way past when the world ends, but you'll still have that food. When we're floating in space, you can open one of these buckets up, add some water, and eat your food. Mind you, this is an extremely affordable way to do it, and freeze-dried food is not cheap. That's why, again, this is one of our best recommendations for affordable freeze-dried food. You can get a 3-month kit at a giant discount. Now, it always varies. It could be 225% off. There's always a giant discount that's grandfathered in with our link. But if you're watching this replay in 2 weeks from now, it could be different. So make sure to always go check what the current discount is. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. One thing you do know is when you use that link, you don't need a code, and you're going to get a really, really hefty discount on it. You can go with the 3-month. There's sometimes great discounts on the 1 month. Again, you can go down all the way. You can get a 72-hour kit for a go bag, a 3-day kit. You can get all sorts of great stuff there, including the Alexa Pure Pro. It is a incredible water filtration system that gets rid of 99.9% of all of the ugly contaminants. They also have air purifiers. They have all sorts of great stuff. So make sure to go check that out as well. I will say this. This is their advertising. I love how the guy is sitting with those are the anti-radiation tablets. And he's looking outside the window and he's looking at a crescendo and he's holding he's got the tablets like, I'm doing okay. That nuclear bomb, which he's staring at right now. Look, I think they were like, he's staring at a nuclear bomb, but he's got his tablets. He's going to be good. That's actually a really pretty picture. I would frame that, honestly. But it is very helpful as far as those tablets. If you are worried about that kind of thing, then they have those, and all you have to do is click the tab at the top. Dex, go ahead.
One of the other things that we never talk about on their site, they have a thing called deals of the day. And if you guys are looking to just try stuff or look for small items or smaller quantities of things or discounts, those every day it's something new. And I just happened to go on there. It looks like they have those tablets you're talking about are actually under the deal of the day. So if you go to that link and look for the deal of the day at the top, they're like on sale at the moment. But the deal of the day is really cool. We've never really talked about it, but I've been checking it out lately, and I've found a lot of cool discounts there. So worth looking at.
marfugglenews.com/prep. And then abuse in the machine. Studies shows AI image generators being trained on explicit photos of wee ones. So this, again, shock value. But what ends up happening is they get huge piles of essentially these giant. They're paying for tons and tons of photos scraped. So they're getting everything. They're not just getting one kind or the other of photos. They're getting all sorts of things because this thing is being trained to make photos. Hidden inside the foundation of popular artificial intelligence image generators are thousands of image of SA with the wee ones, according to a new report that urges companies to take action to address the harmful flaw in the technology they built. Those same images have made it easier for AI systems to produce realistic and explicit imagery of fake wee ones, as well as transform social media photos of fully clothed real teens into ones without, much to the alarm of schools and law enforcement around the world. Now, most would ask, like, why? Well, it's because of how they're getting it's how they're locating these photos. Dex, essentially, they are grabbing huge millions of photos, and they're basically, I would believe that they're paying some sort of service to grab these photos, but they can't really be that picky. They're grabbing it from online, that has these photos.
Yeah, in order to train these different AI systems that these companies are building, they need a ton of photos, and they don't just go get them; they go to companies to get them. And for one of the examples they use in here is Leon. It's a giant AI database, and a lot of people use them. Well, I don't know where they get their photos, but for example, they could get their photos by scraping them off of all of the social media out there, scraping them off of all the websites that are out there. Certainly they wouldn't go intentionally to inappropriate websites, but as we know, there is plenty of inappropriate stuff that sneaks its way in to social media on Facebook, or even on X. They've all been blamed for having some level of this type of information on it, such so that while they do their best to take it down, it's still there. And if these automated systems are out scraping that, it ending up in the database. Now, they haven't apparently done a good enough job of finding it and getting it out of the database when they give this database to other companies to train their AI systems. And that's what this study has found, is that these AI systems are actually able to now reproduce that because they've learned from it. That means they had to be seeded that information. And that's pretty creepy on many different levels. It sounds very much potentially accidental, or not nefarious. It could be nefarious. Who knows? Maybe there's some evil people doing this on the back end, but it also seems logical that it could have just happened because of sloppiness, and them not identifying that this is a potential problem that they should have seen or foreseen and fixed on the way in before all these systems started using it. Now it becomes a problem that has to be addressed. And that's what the study that came out from the university that was looking into this is trying to present. So pretty interesting scenario. Definitely creepy at best, and I'm hopeful that they find a way to shut this stuff down, and not let these systems create that kind of information, and they get the seeding of that information out of these databases.
Yeah, and as we know, I mean, Omegle just got shut down. Um, it was a website and an app that essentially you could talk to strangers, right? Well, after years and years, they just couldn't take on the sheer number of people that were using it for nefarious purposes. Omegle said itself on its last day out, they put on their website, hey, it's been a great journey, this and that. But they said, we actually helped catch a lot of these pervs that were, if you don't know what Omegle is, you go on, it's basically a webcam tool where you get a random person. It just generates a different person that's on the app, and you're face to face with them. You can just talk to a random person. You click next, you can swipe to the next person. You see somebody holding their junk, go to the next person. Unfortunately, many people's experience, I never went on it. Dex, you said years ago you went on it, saw the same thing. Most of it was guys holding their junk. So you would go next, junk, next, junk, next, junk, and then Goose Wayne, next, junk, and so on. And when they shut down because of that. The thing is they had that stuff on there for years. So I could imagine, as far as like all of the stuff that Instagram, Facebook, all of these have on it, of course they have this stuff on it. Their teams, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I told you about one of my clients was a person who, back when I was doing credit card processing stuff, they did, what do you call it? They were on the safety team at Facebook, and they said they had to go to therapy after being in that job because they had to see people taking their own, lives and stuff. They saw kid stuff. They saw kidnappings. So when that stuff gets flagged, it takes a few minutes to get it off. So if you are grabbing, say they do this app and they go, boom, we're grabbing 32 million pictures all at once, you're going to get a percentage of that is the stuff before it's flagged and it's on there. The crazy part is now these pervs, if they didn't catch this, they would be able to generate as much endlessly realistic, pictures of this stuff as possible, and they could spread it all around the world. I mean, like, it's really disturbing what this stuff can do. But one thing I also think about, how could they use that technology as far as to frame people and things? We actually covered a story a while back that they could actually frame somebody of the CP stuff that was an enemy of the state. And it made me think of that whole Sunspot Observatory thing where they said that guy was this and they found all this stuff. When we've heard CIA agents on different podcasts saying they have a plane that can fly above and insert things into people's computers. Now imagine if there were pictures that were generated by AI that had no real people behind them, so you would never be able to identify if they're real or not, because you would never be able to find the real person, but you would have the stuff to actually take them down and to put them in jail. I mean, like, this is so, AI in general, I just see nothing but bad. And I know there's so many people that see nothing but good with this stuff. I just think that this is, I don't think it's evolution. I think it's devolution. Because, and I'm not saying devolution, it's devolution, because we are getting stupider. We're putting more and more into computers. In 10 years, how many regular people that, are not studious are going to have the brain cells to rub together to be good citizens? Nobody can even read cursive now. People can't read an analog clock, let alone run the planet in 10 or 20 years. And maybe they know that. They're going to have robots running the damn show. Perverted robots. Dex, do you want to tell people how to get to all of the sources for today? And there's a lot of sources. Great stuff.
Yeah, very easy to get to. We have two different ways. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for today's show. If you remember it, you'll see all of the thumbnails for the past shows there. If you want to click on it and get to any of the sources, they're there. Or hit the show notes link. It's down below in the description. It's the first link we put there. If you're looking for any of our other links we've talked about, they're typically down in the description. Any of the affiliates and other stuff, links to our different pages on our website, how to find our contact information. All of that's there. We put it in the description. It's the easiest way to find it. But it's that first link. It's called Show Notes. It'll take you to marfooglenews.com.
Bodhi Sattva says, Marf Dex, the interview with Yuri Bezmenov from 1984 here on YT explained to a T what we've been going through and what we will be going through. Bodhi, I've seen that video, and there's quite a few videos from 30, 40, 50 years ago that state exactly what is happening. And I believe, isn't the Yuri one, that's the one that essentially he breaks down like what they were going to do to society to break it down, right? Yeah, very crazy stuff. I would recommend people to watch that, but of course, have your own opinion on stuff. Off to work. Peace to all of you. Love y'all. Stay salty. Stephen McMahon, thank you. And hey, thank you for stopping by and thank you for making it. I know you made a comment earlier saying, thank you for the early show. I'm able to stay for most of it. So thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you. And we're trying to get on as early as possible. As you guys know, this is not my only job, so I appreciate everybody that has been supporting us through all of the crazy times. So I appreciate you, and thank you. Dex, thank you for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Make sure to go check out the mods at marfooglenews.com/friends. And it is now time for the shoutro. It's not a outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Dr. Casey, if you feel like it, again, I'm going to make a horrible song for you. Thank you. Thank you for being top supporter tonight. Thank you over on D-Live. I appreciate all of you. Much love to the D-Live crew. Chance Paladin, of course, holding it down along with Jammer. And, of course, Johnson. Thank you. Merry Christmas to Marf, Dex, and families, mods, and family. And all Foogle fam, let love rule. Well, thank you. Nelly 14 and everyone else over there. Love you. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out.